Okay, before we get going here, on behalf of the entire football organization, we want to wish men's and women's basketball best of luck as they start the season tonight. Coach Golden and Coach Finley obviously have been incredible since I've been here. I'm really very thankful and appreciative of the relationship I have with both of those coaches. So, you know, we have moved forward and begin our prep for Texas. Obviously, Texas is a very talented roster, I think, from top to bottom at every position. It's elite height, length, speed, athleticism. I do think that they have a veteran quarterback and they have a rebuilt skill group around him and a handful of offensive linemen that have really good experience as well. I do think the returners are dynamic in the kicking game, and just in general, the athleticism and the philosophy that they play within the kicking game presents a number of issues, so we'll have to be buttoned up there. And then defensively, I think really impressed with the overall makeup of that group. You know, they're explosive at every level, first, second, and third level. And they've got an identity, they've got a blueprint, and I think they do a good job playing situational football as well. So the makeup of the team going on the road to play at their place, obviously the early kick, and given where our team is at, you know, our ability to recenter and begin our preparation will be really important today. I thought we obviously answered a bunch of questions about the game Saturday after the game, but overall, anything you've got about that as well, we'd be more than welcome to talk about.
How's DJ just handling the situation? He's heading back to Texas to play in front of his folks and all that. Now that's not going to happen. And saw a picture of you guys kind of embracing, and I mean, you look upset.
Yeah, no, I think injuries are one of the more challenging parts of the profession, and coaching and playing, right? I think so. The good news is we've had positive information on that front. Okay, that is the positive there. So we do think that the injury is less significant. We do think there's a pathway for recovery and a return. And we did find that out yesterday evening. So a lot of good on that front, so less significant than we anticipated. And he's been doing well so far this morning. So we have not completely ruled him out. And I think a lot of that will be to be determined as we move our way throughout the week. So that's a good thing for all involved and certainly for DJ. But I think you're spot on. I think in the moment there Saturday, obviously off to a good start. Excited about being a part of that rivalry game and making his impact on that rivalry. And then I think that he, in particular, is a great competitor. So, and he wants to be loyal to his teammates and be available to do his part for the team. So, yeah, I mean, I think he was torn up pretty good, like you would anticipate.
When you say not ruled out for Texas, just to clarify, for this week?
Yeah. We're going to kind of see how that goes. I think obviously the position that he plays makes that, possible. So we definitely, and look, I mean, it's going to be pretty clear cut once we get to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we'll know.
Were you surprised at that news? Looking at the injury when it happened, with the card coming out, everybody's thinking, oh, this looks like, usually when that happens, it's the kind of thing where you're like you see the guy again within a year.
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, you just never know, right? Soft tissue is a strange, I think it's a very subjective injury, and this one proved to be that, right? So, that's ultimately you got to get to the MRI to find out how much damage there is, and that's what we did. We did the MRI Sunday, and got it back last night. So, positive news on that front.
Billy, you seemed very adamant after the game. You had some fire about the ability for the team to compete with the best in the SEC and Georgia, clearly. Do you feel very strongly this program's moving in the direction you want? And obviously, maybe not in the win-loss column.
Sure.
But you feel very strongly there.
Yeah,
Things are on track.
I do.
Maybe not the timeline you want it, but on track, though.
Yeah, I mean, we all want things faster, right? I mean, I think I think life and football is no different. We all test our patience, you know. But I do think, given the dynamic, just like this team, that's what I would say. You know, like what I've observed from this team since the first open date. You know, obviously we were very disappointed in how we started the year, but I think just a group of players, I have a ton of respect for the group of players. And the body of work since the open date, I think as a whole, I've been pleased with that, you know, and I think the mindset, the competitive spirit, the improvement, the football improvement, you know, I think the tape speaks for itself.
Devin Moore and Dijon, just what have you seen from some of the freshmen, Jameer Grimsley, Teddy Foster, if they are, you know, thrust into action in a hostile road environment?
I think they're capable. I think they're just green, you know. They've got all the traits that you would look for. Some a little more mature than others. You know, and I think that's part of it. But I do think there's talent there. There's height, length, athleticism, what you would want to recruit. That was a deep room that's been hit with the injury bug, and I think some of the competitive depth that we've recruited and developed there showed up. Obviously, Cormani continues to get a little bit better. He's very, he's kind of, you know, he's impressed me with how he's managed it. And I do think that those other guys are capable. We're not there yet. We'll know later in the week. I think both of those guys are in a category. They could very easily be available for the game as well.
What kind of temperature are you getting as for how the team is trying to hold together through, you know, this kind of rash of injuries? I mean, did you have any team meetings yesterday, today, or how
Our guys were in the building yesterday. Treatment yesterday, recovery yesterday, some voluntary film review yesterday. I mean, I think it's next man up. I mean, we proved that Saturday, and I think it presents opportunity for some of these guys that haven't maybe got to play as much as they would like to play. You know, and I think ultimately they got to view it that way. You know, I do think, you know, in this league with the level of talent, the physicality, the explosive plays. It's always going to be that way. You know, you got to have a deep team and with now in the 12-team playoff, it's even more important than ever, right? So we've survived it. You know, I think the quarterback situation probably the most dire injury. I think all the other positions we've been able to manage it for the most part.
Trey Wilson and Tran Webb were two guys that were healthy against Kentucky, and then they were out again. Did they just suffer setbacks during the bye week, or what happened there?
Yeah, no, Trayon, both of which I think Trey's injury has been lingering. You know, it's been a issue that he's had for quite a while that we've been navigating. I think at times he's been able to produce, and then there'll be setbacks, and then Trayon obviously. We'll have a little bit more specific details for you later this week. But in general, you know, kind of unforeseen situations there that contributed to both.
What's it take to kind of create the culture of where players can pull through these kinds of things and in a lot of cases, I mean, kind of play for you in a way? Mm-hmm. I mean, and I'm sure that's very gratifying to see.
No, again, I love this group. You know, I think, like I've mentioned many times standing up here before, very unique group in that regard. Wouldn't have been able to continue to play with the type of effort if we didn't have pretty unique character. So, yeah, just in general here, improvement, belief, a certain mindset that you got to have in terms of how you compete, how hard you play. We've taken a step forward in that direction.
How do you balance the desire to want Lagway back on the field playing versus, making sure he doesn't make it worse?
Yeah, soft tissues really, those are the challenging ones, right? So I think the position he plays contributes to that. But look, we're going to exhaust every resource we have. I think we are very fortunate that we have a great group of professionals that work with our team. Dr. Farmer, all of our orthopedics, just in general, through UF Health and locally here, we have access to some of the best. So it's a really competitive advantage for our players and our staff, really all of our athletic teams. So we've got access to really smart people, very experienced people, and I think that's going to be the key. The sports science piece is a huge element in that regard because we have metrics that can give the player confidence and allow us to make objective decisions at the same time.
How's that improved since, say, you were playing? Did you pull a hamstring when you were a guy? What was the treatment?
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you when it's going to rain outside, let's put it that way. I just think that it alleviates some of the, for me, I would say we're always trying to make the best decision for each individual player, and we just have more ways to evaluate it. It's less subjective, I think, whereas, concussions are that way. Soft tissue is that way. I think all the force plate, all the Nord board, the catapult, we just have so many variables that we can look at and say, okay, hey, this guy's ready to go. The biodex, there's a million of them. So, and it helps the player because oftentimes the injury is mental, right? And I think we can say, hey, look, you're back to baseline. If anything, you're performing better than you did even during training camp, et cetera. So I think it's definitely a completely different game, for sure.
You came out Friday pretty hard on the faking injuries standpoint. Did you feel like that was a problem across the league, and what was kind of your reaction to that?
Yeah, we don't do it. We don't believe in doing it. So it wasn't of concern for us. And I'm not aware if any team's done it against us. Was not an issue within our team.
Was it discussed going into the season or during the season, like for the SEC coaches?
Oh, it's been a hot topic for several years now. To the level in which I think they're proposing fines and of that nature. So now penalties, right? So yeah, we not a big believer in it. I think it's not something that we needed to review going into the game.
If Eden does play on Saturday, fans you mentioned he was put in a tough situation, but fans are going to look at 7-22, just maybe ways even as a coaching staff or so forth to get that completion percentage a little higher. How are ways that maybe you can manage him or navigate him in terms of higher percentage throws in that regard?
Yeah, no, I think I'm with you. I have the same concerns and same. I think we always, there's an element of, okay, hey, you always have to kind of have some awareness of the things you can control and you can't control. And then you got to have courage to really take a good look in the mirror at the areas where, hey, look, I can do something about that. But no, we didn't. He was the backup, and obviously we were hoping that we didn't have to go there, but we did. And then Georgia is a stingy operation, and I think they can make it very challenging for you, the coverage and the rush. So, look, the kid did as good a job as he could do. There'll be some plays that he'd like to have back, but it's a pretty big stage to, trot out there in the middle of that one. So, but yeah, I've been impressed with him. He won the job, back during training camp, late training camp, going into week 1 of the season. We kind of decided to make him the 3. He did not go through spring practice. He did not go through OTAs in the summer. Kind of proved himself during training camp. And really, we were dividing reps with that third and fourth quarterback at that point. And then, obviously, when we got to the season, we made that decision. Now, the 3 quarterback gets no reps, right? So he got reps the last couple of weeks as the 2. And I would say he's had some really good practices, and I think there's some things to be encouraged about.
How helpful will these next couple of days be for Clay Millen as well, knowing that, now he's one play away as well from being inserted in the game?
Yeah, no, I think Clay got a ton of reps in the spring. I think he's obviously the 2-spot practices contribute to that, but Clay's a very capable player as well. And yeah, I mean he'll get all the reps with the 2s this week.
In an ideal scenario, what does a Billy Napier roster look like from a quarterback standpoint? What number of scholarship guys would you ideally like to have?
Yeah, I'd take 6 or 7 if you give them to me. No, I mean, I think there's a fine balance in there in terms of recruiting to that position. You got I signed 4 in 1 year at Louisiana, if that makes any sense. So I think, I just don't think you can ever have enough of them. Now, that being said, we carry 4 on scholarship typically, and a 5th if we were able to. But nowadays there's a lack of patience, and everybody wants to be the guy. And I just think you always are looking for that 4th player. So the right combinations of scenarios that allow you to recruit to that spot, right? So, I think 4 in the perfect world would be just right, but I think it's year to year. I mean, it's absolutely 1 year at a time.
Yeah, how much harder is it now in the transfer portal, and do you find yourself trying to sell if you really like a guy or like a quarterback, or do you understand that, it's just, the nature of the beast and they want to go where they can play?
Yeah, I think it's important that you're very honest in the beginning, no promises. I think you got to be very transparent about the current role. I think just the team dynamic is very important once they do arrive, that they understand where everything's at. And, in the recruiting process, all these kids on our team, I sat in the room with them, their parents at some point in time in the process. So we want to try to do it the same way, and I think we've done that.
Shane Matthews on his show this morning, I was watching the great Scott Carter on there, by the way, and they were he was talking about quarterbacks want the football a certain way, and Aiden really wasn't preparing the footballs as he would like. I'm not talking Deflategate here, but I'm talking like scuffed up. Some of them maybe like them fresh out of the package. Is there something to this, or was Shane just kind of, it seemed, he would know. He's a pretty insightful guy with something like that.
Yeah, I can tell you as a former quarterback, I had a little deal with the managers. I'd find one during the week. I'd be like, hey, put that, I'd say, set that one aside, or after a couple periods, I'd be like, hey, that one's out. I think the best in the game, Shane Matthews obviously is one of the best quarterbacks in the history of this program. So his opinion, he's played the game. He's had a helmet on. He's laced them up. I think there's something to it for sure.
Because there was a throw, one particular where he rolled
I don't
right.
know that contributed
Well, no, where he
to
rolled
what
right,
happened
and it looked
Saturday.
like it kind of came out of his hand even. He tried to, because
Yeah.
Aiden made some sweet throws. There were a
Yeah.
few that were very nice, and there were a couple where it was like, whoa, because maybe that. I don't know.
Right.
Is there something-
Yeah, I don't know that contributed on Saturday. I promise you, Aiden Warner was not thinking about that Saturday. Okay, I can promise you that.
Better question, the field. Was that an issue? You had a lot of guys slip early. Obviously, DJ slipped when he was about to cut on the hamstring. Was it the field an issue, or the cleats maybe you guys had for the field?
I think it's week to week, depending on where you're playing. I think there's always a little bit of an adjustment. We had some players change cleats after pregame, halftime, some of that. But that's common at every level of football. I think it's something that we discuss. And then obviously equipment helps the players with some of that. So, you know, I mean, I'm watching Penn State, Ohio State, you know, that's a completely different surface than maybe what we played on, right? So, you know, I just think that's part of the game. It's an outdoor game. The surface is always a little bit different. And I think the other team has to play on that same surface. So I think it's something that we don't necessarily control, and we don't spend time worrying about it.
The play of Aaron Gates, I know he's a guy you've liked for a while. What do you think of his performance Saturday and just how he's coming on?
Yeah, no, Gates is one of our best football players. I think obviously I had high opinion of him coming out. You know, he's big, long, he's dense, he's extremely quick and fast. He's very instinctive. Played both ways in high school, was a returner. Incredible parents. I mean, and last year played in the final 4 games after coming off the ACL. He had an ACL injury his senior year, so we played him in the final 4, redshirted him, and then obviously he's been able to be, you know, it's very evident when he's out there. So he and Sharif both have done a good job as really young players playing for the first time. But Gates made some really impressive plays on special teams Saturday as well. So good in coverage, physical, good tackler. Yeah, I'm excited. And he's got position versatility. I'm not so sure he couldn't play corner. He could play all 5 if need be.
I've asked you about that before. Because of the injuries, if you have to keep putting Bridges at corner, could you see playing Aaron
We
at
worked
safety?
him back there last week in practice a little bit late in the week. So we're really testing our position flex right now. But, yeah, in the scout team last year, he was playing corner. We're just trying to get the guy on the field, to be honest with you.
Abe Mizell, you mentioned some of the factors that have gone into him contributing. Is there anything else, like you talked about him building up his body, starting to understand football IQ, all these things? What else is he doing to continue to make strides? Because he definitely seems to have a knack for big plays.
Well, first of all, he's extremely fast. I mean, the guy's elite speed. His skill level's improving. Just overall, you know, route running, releases, top of route transition. He was a little bit behind from a skill development standpoint, and he's physically matured quite a bit. So I think he's still getting bigger and stronger. I think he's got to improve in his play strength, his overall physicality, his temperament, you know, just as a blocker in general. But I think he's got some strengths. He fits the prototype, and I think he'll continue to get better. I mean, it's really his first significant year of playing time. Okay, guys. Thank you.